I just turned 46, and here are harsh truths I wish I knew in my 20s. Starting with number 1, your body is a reflection of your relationship with yourself. Every choice you make about sleep, food, and movement is a vote for the person you believe you are. Your physique becomes the physical scoreboard of your inner dialogue, which contains your standards, your boundaries, your coping habits, and your self-respect. When the relationship improves, your body will follow. Next, if you're not exercising, you're inviting poor mental health. When I was in my 20s, I was a fat high school dropout who played video games all day and did drugs and drank all night. I lacked purpose, and I didn't realize that at the time I was probably dealing with some mental health issues. I was so down in the dumps that I was looking for anything I could do to improve my situation, and long story short, I found the gym. When I started going to the gym, I didn't realize it at the time, but my brain was changing, and that's because exercise is literally rocket fuel for your brain. I started having more positive thoughts, and this created a virtuous cycle where I started to make tiny improvements to my life that have culminated in what you are seeing today. 3. Having a fat belly will mess up your brain. Having a fat belly is a sign of visceral fat, and I talked about it on this video over here. It releases inflammatory cytokines that cross into your brain and disrupt your neurotransmitters, damaging memory-forming regions like the hippocampus. It also raises cortisol and shrinks your gray matter over time. My first step when I was trying to get my life in order was to get my body in shape. Again, I didn't realize it at the time, but the reduction of belly fat led me to being able to focus better, improve my mood, and improve my cognitive processing. And by the way, if you want a free guide on how to get rid of your belly fat, comment the word lean, and I'm going to send it to you. Number 4, not lifting weights now will set you up for a world of pain by the time you hit your 30s, 40s, and beyond. You won't believe how many people in my 40s I'm seeing right now that are dealing with chronic pain and injury as a result of not taking care of their bodies when they had a chance. Start lifting now so you won't regret it later. Number 5, lack of sleep is the lead domino where all bad things come from. You'll become more tired, more emotional, hungrier. It's going to set you off on a vicious cycle to be repeated the next day. I had a client who was getting around 6 hours of sleep at night, and all we had to do was just get him 1 more hour of sleep through fixing some of his sleep habits, most of which you can check on this video over here. Afterwards, he reported back to me that he wasn't feeling cravings anymore. He had more energy and he was less moody, all as a result of getting the right amount of sleep. Number 6, staying inside all day under fake blue lights is the cause of more mental issues than most people like to admit. People who do this on a regular basis disrupt their circadian rhythms, which suppresses their melatonin, elevates their stress levels, and impairs serotonin regulation. The result will be increased anxiety, lower mood, and brain fog. The antidote to this is spending at least 30 minutes a day outside as a non-negotiable. Number 7, I regret to inform you that walking is the most underrated exercise on the planet. It relieves stress, it improves brain function, it even burns a little bit of fat, and it can also help you live longer. People who do around 7,000 steps per day have been able to decrease their all-cause mortality by 40%. And something I do in my own life is that when I'm faced up against a problem or I need to brainstorm something, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to take a walk. When in doubt, go for a walk. Porn ruins the brain, warps your perception of women, increases shame and guilt, and has led to more erectile dysfunction than most guys like to admit. I won't get into it, but one of the biggest changes I made in my life was quitting porn, and I talked about it in this video over here. It was like removing a 50-pound weight of shame off of my chest, and I highly recommend it for any guy who's trying to improve their life. Next, drinking alcohol or doing any type of drug to escape your problems will only make them worse. The avoidance of problems, especially when you use substances, will only make the problems bigger. Next, the smarter you think you are, the dumber you become. I know a guy who considers himself to be smart, and yeah, based on traditional means, he can be considered a high IQ individual. But this actually stops him from taking action and getting what he wants. When he's about to make a decision, he's overthinking, overanalyzing, and sometimes he doesn't even make a decision at all because if he fails, his identity of being smart will be crushed to pieces. Me, I don't necessarily tell myself that I'm dumb, but I keep telling myself that I have a lot to learn, and I can only learn through taking action. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm standing here in front of you and talking to you like this. Next, the biggest reason why people won't make it is because they rely on their feelings to show up. Back in 2020, when I first started to create for social media, I only had one rule for myself, which was to show up. So I first started creating on Twitter and I got to 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, 500,000 followers. And then I kept on showing up. The one thing that kept going on in my mind was just show up regardless of how I felt. I committed myself to showing up at the same time every single day. And I did the same thing when I was trying to get healthy. And the one thing that I see with a lot of kids these days and what separates people from getting what they want and staying stuck is that they have a lack of showing up. If you adopt this one rule, you will be way farther than 99% of people who only show up when they feel like it. Next, your need for external validation takes away from your internal self-worth. You don't need others to applaud for you and to give you trophies. You need to follow what's going on inside and do what you think is right for your life regardless of what other people think. Carrying resentment towards others only affects you in a negative way, never the other person. So forgive, let go, and move the on with your life. Whining, bitching, and complaining gives more power to the problems and takes you further away from the solution. Misery loves company, and if you keep on doing this in your life, you will attract exactly what you deserve. Next, and this one might be a controversial one. The identification with your culture can hold you back from doing the things that you feel you were meant to do. And this one was a big one for me because, as you can see, I don't know if you ever noticed, but I'm Asian. I remember when I was younger, wanting to do certain things with my life, thinking, what would my culture think? Or would people accept me if I was Asian? I thought because I didn't look white that I would be held back from opportunity. And this is a mindset that most people in certain cultures need to let go of. As I was on this journey to creating the level of success that I felt I desired, this also opened up the opportunity for me to hang with people from other cultures. So when I was in high school, all I had were Asian friends. And now here I am in my 40s. And yes, I do have Asian friends, but I also have the vast majority of my friends from every single culture that you can think of. And this gives me a more expansive view on not only what I can accomplish, but also how I look at the world. Next, the more you judge others, the more you will criticize yourself. I know this successful fitness influencer who uses his content to criticize others. I was watching one of his reels one day and he mentioned that his biggest critic is himself. And he says that he says things to himself that he would never say to his worst enemy. And this reminded me that a big part of why that's happening is the fact that he spends 50% of his time on social media criticizing others. No one's perfect and we're all trying our best, at least most of us. And most times when we criticize others, it's a mirror to what's going on inside of ourselves. So judge less, let people do their thing, and focus on where you're going. Next, the biggest killer in life is hypertension caused by stress. And if you want to live a long, peaceful life, you have to learn how to create a calm nervous system. Now onto some money stuff. Accumulating credit card debt and not paying off your credit card every single month is going to put you in a serious financial hole. One of the worst things I did in my 20s was spend frivolously on my credit card only to accumulate debt every single month. And this is one of the biggest sources of financial stress that I put on myself, and it was self-inflicted. So I came up with 2 rules. Every single month, I had to make sure I paid off my credit card and brought the balance down to 0. Next, if I could not buy something 3 times over with cash, I did not put it on my card. Which leads me to the next point. The biggest source of financial stress is buying shit you don't need to impress others you don't care about. Next, how much money you make is correlated with how much value you bring to the marketplace. If you're not making the money you want, you need to increase or find ways to increase the value you bring. Number 21, scrolling social media is aging your brain and making you sadder. A large review of 71 studies of close to 100,000 participants found heavy use of short-form videos and endless scrolling of social media correlates with weaker attention, impaired memory, and reduced brain control. And it just makes you sadder because you're literally comparing yourself to someone else's highlight reel. Next, most of social media is fake. Guys are taking steroids claiming they're natural. Girls are doing extreme diets just to get lean. Even those cute little photos that you see people posting on Instagram, they've been carefully cultivated to look a certain way. I know a guy who posts pictures of himself with Lambos and Aston Martins, and guess what? He doesn't own them. They're all rented. And he does this to promote a lifestyle so he can sell his courses. And this is just going to get worse with the invention of AI. So be highly selective of the people you follow and make sure you're following them for their ideas and their philosophies and less about the external measures that they promote on social media. Next, your environment will be the greatest contributor to your success or lack of it. This goes for your friends and unfortunately, your family. When I was first trying to change myself from being this fat, lazy high school dropout to someone who had purpose and was doing something who helped others, I was on a serious obsession with self-improvement. I was doing Get the Edge by Anthony Robbins. I was listening to Jim Rohn tapes. I was listening to Brian Tracy and Jack Canfield and all the legends. Something I remember is that I had to remove myself from environments that were enabling me and holding me back and seeking new environments that were more conducive to the path that I was putting myself on. So I invested in masterminds and conferences. I got around people who were on the same journey as I was, and I had to let go of some people as well. And this changed my life. Your results are a reflection of your environment, and if you want to change your life, your environment must change as well. The first step to making progress is tracking. If you want to be wealthy, track your finances. If you want to be healthy, track your weight, track your workouts, track your nutrition. What you measure is what you manage, and if you don't track, you're either too scared or you don't care. Next, fear is the ultimate mind killer. Fear hijacks your amygdala, narrows your thinking, convinces you to stay small. Throughout my 46 years, I learned that the only antidote to fear is by doing the thing you fear in the first place. Every time you do the thing you're scared of, your brain rewrites the fear loop. Action shrinks the monster and avoidance feeds it. Next, worrying is praying to the devil. Most things you worry about never come true. I call it praying to the devil because it's basically rehearsing your worst case scenario until your brain believes it's real. Instead of worrying, put that time and attention towards the solutions and the things that you have control over. Give those things power and you eliminate worry. Next, your results in life are a reflection of your inner world. Your thoughts, beliefs, and identity inform your actions and behaviors which create your results. If you want to change your results, you must first focus on the inner world. Next, your life is determined by an internal thermostat. I could gift an obese person a fit body and a six-pack, and I will guarantee you that if that person had not done the inner work, if they not had reset the thermostat, they will lose that within the course of a couple months. You have this inner thermostat inside of you that is set to what you feel comfortable. If it's too high, it's going to bring you back down. If you're too low, it's going to bring you back to what it feels is right for you. And going along with the previous point I made about the internal thermostat, about your inner world, if you want to change the thermostat, you must do the inner work to change it. If you want to change this thermostat, what's going to happen is that you're going to have monkeys at the dial trying to bring you back. This is going to be in the form of your ego wanting to bring you back to what's comfortable and people around you wanting to bring you back to what they feel is normal. Your job is to guard this setting with your life. This means not inviting thoughts or any enabling habits that will bring you back to the person you once were. Next, when you first start out, you will be the only one who believes in you, and that's a feature, not a bug. When I first decided to leave my corporate job to become a personal trainer, mind you, this was over about 20 years ago. We didn't have social media. We barely had the internet. And personal training was seen as more of a side job than it was a career. And when I told people in my life that I was going to become a trainer, everyone told me not to do it. My family was worried for me. My friends tried to coax me out of it. And thankfully, I trusted my gut and used their disbelief as fire to make myself into the trainer that I knew I could become. So when you're trying to do something new in your life, people won't get it, and that's okay. You're going to have to train yourself to believe in yourself, even if you might not be seeing the results right away. And thankfully, now that we have the internet, you can find out what other people are doing to become successful and make that a reality. The paradox of growth is that failure is necessary. If you don't fail, it means you never tried, and that's the biggest failure of all. If you want the best results, put yourself out there and fail faster. It's never been so easy to make money, get fit, and learn how to live a great life. Paradoxically, it's never been easier to get distracted in a world that vies for your attention. You need to put the blinders on. You need to narrow your focus. You need to eliminate anything that doesn't contribute to creating the life that you want. You have the tools. Use them. The refusal to adopt new technologies will set you back further than you think. So I live in this small town in British Columbia, and I've been talking to 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. And one of the questions I ask them is, are you using AI right now? And 99% of the people I talk to don't. And this is crazy to me because when the internet first came out, I was all over it. I looked at it as one of the biggest opportunities that we have ever seen. And these new technologies are going to shape how we interact with the world. So instead of being ignorant and refusing to use them, invite them into your life and learn why they're going to be so useful. And if you don't complain later on when your life is not progressing at the speed you hoped for. The world will move on with or without you. So falling behind is a choice. If you don't have any goals, you will be assigned them from others and you won't like it. I remember when I was struggling as a personal trainer trying to get clients, I read this article by Paul Chek, and he said that writing down your goals was going to make it more likely that you're going to achieve them. So I took his advice and I wrote down 20 goals. Some of them were wild, like I wanted to become the top trainer at the gym. I remember I just wrote those goals down, I forgot about it, I put it in my desk, and 6 months later, I ended up opening up the drawer by accident and seeing that paper. And lo and behold, when I read that list, I started crossing off multiple things on that list, and one of them was becoming the top trainer at my gym. You must be intentional with the goals you set for yourself and then work your ass off to achieve them, or else you're just leaving yourself open to having other people insert what goals they think you should have, and again, you won't like it. Next, the best way to improve your life is to have a reason for waking up. Your mind is simple. It needs direction and focus. Imagine you're riding a bike, and as you're riding this bike, there's a big tree in your way. If you want to avoid the tree, are you going to focus on the tree, or are you going to focus on the path that leads you away from that tree? This is a very simplified way of saying that you need to look where you're going. And when I was first learning how to surf, one of my surf coaches gave me one of the best pieces of surf and life advice, which was to look where you want to go. Most people, when they're starting to surf, what they do is they look down and guess what? They end up falling. But when you're surfing, all you have to do is just look down the line. And this is where you want to go. You need to focus on the direction and the place where you want to be. And the simple act is going to help you focus your mind on what you want. Next, the paradox of life is surrender. Carl Jung, one of the world's greatest psychologists, has a theory called the paradox of surrender. The idea is that you only gain power over your fears, your shadows, and impulses by accepting them. When you surrender yourself and stop resisting what controls you, you're willing to face and integrate the things that transform you. Surrender becomes the path to strength. And finally, the surest sign of intelligence is getting what you want. It's not degrees or theories, but outcomes. The mindset behind this is simple. Become the person that figures things out, adapts fast and solves problems, and refuses to stay stuck. Relentless resourcefulness beats intelligence and raw talent every day, including Sunday. Now, I have more, but I'm going to stop there. I've collected these over the course of 46 years, and my hope is that you learn much faster than I did. Take it from Uncle Dan that no matter how bleak your life may get, you can always change. It's always within your power, and it always has been. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.